Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to make and publish your very own Flappy Bird game using CodeWisp. If you haven't already, be sure to go to CodeWisp, create an account, and create a new project. Alright, so now we're inside of a new project, and I'm going to click New, and click this bird. Okay, now I'm going to select the previous sprite and delete it. So now we just have our bird. So to start off, I want the bird to start somewhere on the left side of the screen. So over here, for this set x2 block, I'm going to change this value to -240 and drag this over here. Alright, and now if we click start, then as you can see, the bird starts on the left. Now I also want the bird to start at the top. So for this set y, I'm going to type in something like 100 and then drag it after the x. Alright, and now if we click start again, then the bird appears over here. Now I want the bird to be a bit smaller, so I'm going to go to looks and make this set size to 80 and drag it over here. And if we click start, the bird gets a tiny bit smaller. Alright, now I want the bird to fall down. So to do so, I'm going to go to control, drag a forever, and drag it over here. And to make the bird fall, I'm going to go to motion and drag a change y by. And instead of 10, I'm going to do 1 and also do a minus over here. So now what this does is that this is going to constantly decrease the bird's y position by 1. So if we just click start, then as you can see, it works. The bird is falling. But now I want the bird to fall faster and faster. So to do so, let's go to variables, and I'm going to drag this create variable over here. And now this pop-up is going to show, and I'm going to name this something like y velocity, which is going to be the bird's speed vertically. And I'm going to keep everything else the same and click OK. Alright, and now as you can see, we have this variable called y velocity, which is a number, and it's set to 0. So now we want this y velocity to go down faster and faster. So I'm going to drag this change y velocity by block and drag it over here. And I'm going to do minus equals 0.5. So this is going to decrease y velocity by 0.5 every single time. So now let's make the sprite's y position actually get affected by this y velocity. So instead of sprite.y minus equals 1, I'm going to do sprite.y plus equals y velocity. And now if we just click start, then as you can see, the bird falls, just like that. Alright, next I want to make it so that if we click the spacebar, then the bird jumps. So I'm going to go to control, drag an if, and drag it over here. Now I'm going to go to sensing, and drag a key pressed, and put it over here. Alright, so now this is checking if we click the spacebar, then let's go to variables, and I'm going to drag the set y velocity to block. And let's just set it to something like 10. So now if we click start, and press the spacebar, then the bird jumps just like so. Awesome. Now we want the bird to rotate a bit when it jumps, just to make it look a bit better. So inside of motion, I'm going to drag this set rotation to block, and drag it after the if. And I'm going to set this to -y velocity. So now if I click start, then as you can see, the bird rotates when it jumps, and it tilts a bit forward when it's falling. Alright, now that we have the bird, let's create our pipes. So I'm going to click new, and then click pipe, and now we have our pipe sprite over here. So we want the pipes to start from the right side of the screen and then move towards the left side. So to start, I'm going to set the pipe's x position to something like 300 so that it's out of the screen on the right, and I'm going to drag it over here. So now if I click start, the pipe is all the way over here. And actually, I'm going to make it to something like 380 so that it's off the screen. Alright, next we want to create copies of the pipes, because we can have multiple pipes on the screen at once, and we also want a top pipe and a bottom pipe. So to do so, we have to create clones of this pipe sprite. So first off, I'm going to go to Control and drag a forever loop and drag it over here. All right, next, I'm going to go to Clones, and I'm going to drag this create clone of myself and put it inside of the forever loop. After that, I'm going to go to Control and drag a wait, and let's just create a clone maybe every 2 seconds. So now this is going to create clones, but the clones are going to still be off the screen. So to make the clones move from right to left, let's go to Clones and drag a onCloneStart. And I'm going to drag it right over here. And make sure the onCloneStart is before the create clone. And now when a clone is created, let's go to Control and drag a forever. And then let's go to Motion and drag a change x by, put it inside of the forever, and let's do something like -=4. So now if we click Start, as you can see, something is not right. And that is because over here, we're changing sprite.x by 4. But instead, we want to change the clone's x position by 4, not the original sprite. So instead of sprite, let's do clone.x -=4. So now if we click Start, then we have pipe clones being created and moving towards the left just like that. Awesome. So now we have the bottom pipe, but we also want the top pipe. So how do we do that? Well, we can store the pipe clones inside of a variable, and this is going to help us figure out whether the pipe is a bottom pipe or a top pipe. So over here in this create clone, I'm going to type let, and then something like bottom pipe equals create clone. And this let just means that we are creating a variable, and bottom pipe is the name of our variable. So now we have a variable called bottom pipe, which is our pipe clone. So now let's do the same thing for our top pipe. So I'm going to do let top pipe equals create clone. So now we have 2 pipe clones that are being created. So now we want the bottom pipe to start at a lower y position and our top pipe to start at a higher y position. So after this, I'm going to do something like bottom pipe dot y equals to, let's just say -300. And then for this, I'm going to do top pipe dot y equals to something like +300. And now if you just click Start, then we're going to have 2 pipes, one at the top and one at the bottom, that are being created every single time, just like that. Now I also want to flip the pipe's y position. So for top pipe, I'm going to do top pipe dot rotation equals to 180 degrees. And now if you just click Start, now the top pipe is facing downwards. Cool. Next up, we want the pipes to appear at random y positions, not at the same y position every single time. So I'm going to remove the -300 over here, and then I'm going to go to Math and drag a pick random block and put it over here. And I'm going to do pick random -380 to, let's say, -240. And instead of the top pipe's y position being at 300, I want it to be the bottom pipe's y position plus a certain amount. So I'm just going to do plus, let's say, 600, so that there's a gap. And now if I click Start, then, as you can see, the pipes appear at random y positions, just like that. And they have the same spacing between the top pipe and the bottom pipe every single time. Cool. Now we want the game to end when the bird touches the pipe. So in our pipe sprite, I'm going to go to Control and drag an if and drag it over here. And now I'm going to go to Sensing and check if is touching bird and change the sprite to clone, since we're inside of an onCloneStart and we want to use the clone. And then let's go to Game and drag a stop all. And that's it. So we check if the pipe clone is touching the bird, then we're going to stop the game. And as you can see, once the bird touches a pipe, the game stops. Awesome. Now we want a score counter to display our score when the bird goes through a pipe. So I'm going to click New and then click Custom. And this is going to give us a blank sprite. And I'm going to rename this to Score. And now I'm going to go to Game, and I'm going to drag this create text block. So if you just click Start, this is going to give us some text in the center of the screen. Now I'm going to make this say 0 so that it shows 0. Alright, now I want this text to be at the top of the screen. So to do so, we have to store this inside of a variable so that we can move it. So I'm going to do let, and then I'm going to call this score text equals to game.createText. So now we have a variable which holds our score text. Now I'm going to do score text dot y equals to, let's say 200, and now it's going to be on the top. So now we want to change the score when the bird goes through the pipes. So inside of the pipe sprite, I'm going to go to control and drag an if right over here. And how we're going to check if the bird goes through the pipes is that if the pipe's x position is less than the bird's x position. So I'm going to type if clone, that's the pipe clone, dot x is lesser than or equal to the bird's x position. And to get our bird sprite, we can do game dot get sprite, and then open parentheses, close parentheses, and inside of the parentheses, let's do quotation marks and bird, or the name of your bird sprite. And now we want to make sure to get the bird's x position. So we can do all of this dot x. So now once the bird crosses the pipes, we can change our score. Now to create our score variable, let's go to variables and drag a create variable. And I'm going to select global variable. And this means that any sprite can use this variable. And I'm going to call this score. And for the value, I'm going to make it start at 0. And then click OK. And now instead of setting it to 0, let's change it to 0.5. So I'm going to do plus equals 0.5. And the reason why I'm changing it by 0.5 is because we have a top pipe and a bottom pipe. And both of these are going to be checking this. So once the bird goes through the top and bottom pipe, the score is going to change by 1 actually. So now let's go back to the score sprite. And over here, let's set globals.score equal to 0. Now let's go to control, drag a forever, and now we want our score text to always display our score variable. So inside of here, let's do score text dot our text equal to globals.score plus 2 quotation marks. And this is just going to mean that this is going to convert it into text. Now if we click start, then as you can see, when the bird goes through pipes, our score changes. But right now it's changing a lot and it's not stopping. So inside of the pipe sprite, we only want the score to increase once when the bird goes through those pipes. So let's go to variables, and I'm going to drag a create variable after this onClone start. And I'm going to uncheck global variable, and I'm going to call this increased score. And this is going to be either true or false. So I'm going to change this to Boolean, which means that it can have a true or false value. And for this, I'm going to make it start at false and click OK. So when a pipe clone is created, we haven't increased the score yet, so this is false. Now inside of the if, we want to check if we haven't increased the score yet. So let's go to math and grab a not, and then let's type exclamation mark increased score. And then let's drag an and over here. So we're checking if we have not increased the score and all of this, then we are going to increase the score. And after, let's go to variables and set increased score to true. Just like that. So now if we click start, the score is going to increase by 1 only once. Just like so. Awesome. So now I want a game over screen. So when the bird touches the pipe, there's a game over screen, and I can click to restart the game. So inside of the score sprite, I'm going to go to game and drag a create text. And the text is going to say game over. And I'm going to store this inside of a variable. So I'll do let game over text equals to this game over. Now when the game starts, I don't want this to show. So I'll do game over text dot visible equals to false. Now I want to create a variable that all sprites can use, which checks if the game is over. So I'm going to go to variables and create a new variable, drag it over here, and I'll select this global variable, and I'll call this game over. And initially, I'm going to set it to false, and click OK. All right, so now we have this game over variable, and inside of the pipe, instead of stopping the entire game when the pipe is touching the bird, let's just do globals.gameover equals to true. And now back inside of the score sprite in the forever, let's go to control, drag an if, and we want to check if globals.gameover is equal to true. Then we are going to do gameOverText.visible equals to true. So we are going to show the game over text. All right, so let's just try this out so far to see if the text appears. So once the bird touches the pipe, then as you can see, the game over text appears right there. Awesome. Now let's make the game over text Y position a bit higher. So gameOverText.y equals to 25. And below the game over text, let's show the score. So let's do scoreText.y equals to -25. And scoreText.size equals to 150. And now let's try it out. And as you can see, our game over screen is something like that. Nice. Now we also want to stop the bird and the pipes from moving when the game is over. So first, in the bird sprite, inside of this forever loop, let's drag an if. And let's delete this lower curly brace and go over here and add it back. Now I'm going to select everything and then click tab, just like that. And inside of the if, we want to check if globals.gameover equals to false. So if the game is not over, then we want the bird to be falling and moving and doing all of that. Otherwise, if the game is over, then the code inside of here is not going to run. So let's try it out. And as you can see, once the game is over, the bird is not moving. Now let's do the same thing for the pipes. So I'm going to copy this line right here and then go to the pipe sprite. And we don't want the pipe clones to move. So over here, next to the forever, I'm going to press enter and then paste that line of code. And we also have to add our closing curly bracket. So I'm going to go right over here, click enter, and then add it. And I'm going to select everything in between and then click tab. All right, now if we just try it out, once the bird touches the pipe, then the pipes also stop moving. Awesome. Lastly, we also want to make sure no pipe clones are being created when the game is over. So inside of this forever loop, let's paste. And then I'm going to add the closing curly brace. And then select everything in between and then click tab. All right. And now if we try it out, everything should be fine. As you can see, we have a game over screen and nothing is moving. Now I do want to add a background for the game over screen. So I'm going to click new, click custom, and then I am going to select this rectangle tool and drag it over the drawing area. And now I'm going to select it and change the fill to a white color. All right, and I'm going to rename this to game over screen. And inside of here, I'm going to go to looks, set visible to false when the game starts. And I'm also going to set its transparency to something like 20. Now I'm going to go to control, drag a forever, and drag an if, and check if globals.gameover is equal to true. Then we are going to show this screen. So let's go to looks, drag a set visible to true, drag it in the if, and I'm going to go to control, drag another if inside of here, and check if, let's go to sensing, mouse pressed left. So if we click on the screen, then let's go to game and drag a restart. And now this is going to restart the game once we click on the screen. All right, now let's click start. And once the bird touches the pipe and we click on the screen, then as you can see, our game resets, just like that. Awesome. Now one thing is that our game over screen is not on top of everything. So let's go to looks, and I'm going to grab a set layer to, let's just say 5, and drag it over here. Now let's stop and start the game again. And now our game over screen is over everything, just like that. But we also want our score text and our game over text to be above the game over screen. So let's go to the score sprite, and over here, let's do score text dot layer equals to 6. And over here, let's do game over text dot layer equals to 6 as well. Now let's try it out. And once the game is over, we have our game over text and our score text just like that. And if we click, then the game resets. Awesome. And lastly, I'm just going to create a blue background for the game. So I'm going to click New, click Custom, and then drag a rectangle over the drawing area. And I'm just going to make it a blue color. And now when the game starts, I'm going to set its layer to -1, just so that it's behind everything. And there we go. Now we have a nice looking Flappy Bird game. And I'm going to try this out on full screen. So I'm going to click over here. And just a playtest, as you can see, everything works just like so. And then if we click, then we restart. Awesome. So now to export this game and publish it, let's click these 3 dots and click Export, and then HTML file. So this is going to take a second. And now let's just save our file. And now if we click on it, then it's going to automatically open up your file with the playable Flappy Bird game. Just like that. So you can send this file to your friends and family for them to play it, but if you want to publish it online, then go to itch.io. Once you have an account, let's go over here and click Upload a new project. And for the title, I'm just going to call it Flappy Bird Game. And let's scroll down a bit and change this to HTML. After that, let's click Upload Files. Select the file that you exported, click Open, and this is going to take a few seconds to upload. And once you're done uploading, select this right here. And then after that, for our width and height, let's keep width at 640, but then change height to 480. And lastly, if you want, you can click the full screen button. All right, after that, you can choose to make this link private or public. I'm just going to keep it to private, and then click Save and View Page. And now, if we click Run Game, then as you can see, we have our Flappy Bird game. Just like so. And if you want, you can copy this project URL and share it to anyone, and they'll be able to play it. But anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think and what game you want to see next. See ya!